Tonight, let me tell you the story of a house where dreams were trusted to heal. In the gentle valleys of ancient Greece, not far from the sea and the bright stones of Epidaurus, there was once a place where the sick and the weary came not for loud remedies, but for silence, rest, and the soft hope that sleep itself could carry medicine. They called it an Asclepion, a sanctuary of Asclepius, the god of healing. Pilgrims came from villages and cities, carrying their worries, their aches, their unanswered questions. And here, in the Abaton, the quiet chamber of sacred sleep, they lay down on reed mats beneath the glow of oil lamps, believing that the god's presence would walk gently into their dreams. The valley itself seemed designed for calm. By day, the hills were dressed in pine and cypress, and the air held the smell of herbs that healers gathered nearby: thyme, sage, and wild mint. By night, a hush settled as though even the doves and cicadas agreed to rest. Along the portico, small flames flickered, steady but never sharp, guiding each traveler into the inner halls. One could hear the trickle of spring water feeding stone basins, a reminder that the place itself was alive with clarity. And in this setting, men and women, old and young, strangers and companions, prepared not for potions or surgeries, but for something more subtle. A dream that would show them what they needed to know. A traveler arrives at dusk. He is not gravely ill, only weary, his joints stiff from years of carrying goods between ports. His breath is shallow, and he wonders if his strength is leaving him for good. A healer greets him kindly, not with questions that weigh down the heart, but with a basin of water for his hands and a quiet nod that says, "Here you may. Rest." Fresh reeds are spread for him in the Abaton, the darkened hall where voices are kept low. The traveler lies down and notices the sound of footsteps fade, replaced by the murmur of a lyre played slowly somewhere in the distance. He closes his eyes. He knows that in this house, dreams are not idle pictures but gentle prescriptions. He has heard stories that Asclepius himself may appear, carrying a serpent, or that the god may whisper a simple cure. Drink from a spring at dawn, walk each evening until your breath steadies, or offer kindness to a neighbor you had forgotten. Healing, the people believed, could be as quiet as that. It is worth pausing here to understand why the Greeks trusted dreams in this way. Across the world, sleep has long been a mystery. To close one's eyes is to surrender, to drift into a place where ordinary rules do not apply. Some cultures feared this, thinking sleep too close to death. Others cherished it, believing the soul could wander toward divine realms. In the sanctuaries of Asclepius, this mystery was shaped into a ritual called incubation. The sick prepared by bathing, fasting lightly, and making offerings. They entered the Abaton with clear minds, hoping their sleep would be more than rest, that it would open a door to guidance. And remarkably, many left saying they had been healed, not always of every pain, but of something deeper, the heavy burden of despair. Back in the Abaton, our traveler begins to drift. His breathing grows slower, and the lamplight paints soft shapes on the ceiling above him. He remembers his father once telling him that serpents were sacred to Asclepius because they shed their skin and showed that life could begin again. He wonders if his stiff body might learn to renew itself in the same way. He dreams of walking along a riverbank, the water shining like silver in moonlight. A voice tells him to scoop the water and let it wash his face. He feels coolness, then warmth, then a sense that he can stand taller. When he wakes, the dream clings to him like morning dew. He does not rush to interpret it, but he feels lighter, as though the night itself has spoken with care. Outside the Abaton, the sanctuary holds many small wonders. There is a theater where plays are performed, for the Greeks believed that watching stories unfold could ease the spirit as much as herbs ease the body. There are stoas where people walk slowly, stretching their limbs, speaking gently to one another. There are altars where small offerings are laid, honey cakes, flowers, a strand of wool. All of this belongs to the healing, not as distractions, but as reminders that life is more than illness. To be surrounded by art, kindness, and quiet rituals was itself a kind of medicine. The traveler, still drowsy from his dream, notices these things when he rises. He drinks from the spring as his dream advised, the water cool and alive against his lips. He feels no miracle, no sudden transformation, yet something within him settles. He is steadier than before. In one telling of Asclepius's myth, he was the son of Apollo and a mortal woman. He learned the arts of medicine so well that he could restore the sick, even bring the dead, near to life again. Some say this angered the rulers of the gods, who feared that the balance between mortal and immortal was being disturbed. Yet the people remembered Asclepius not as a threat, but as a protector. His sanctuaries multiplied across Greece, from Epidaurus to Kos, each one inviting sleep as a doorway to care. The myth of the healer became a lived tradition, where ordinary men and women could feel divine attention in the privacy of a dream. And so, as the traveler rests again, the night deepens. Lamps grow dim, the lyre fades, and the doves nestle in the rafters. Sleep folds over him gently, not as a thief, but as a guest who brings gifts. The lesson seems clear. When we honor rest, when we listen to the quiet language of dreams, we discover that healing does not always roar. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper in the dark, carrying the promise that tomorrow may feel lighter. Tonight, in the dream house of Asclepius, the first part of the traveler's healing has already begun. The night continues within the Abaton, where dozens of reed mats lie in neat rows, each one holding a visitor who has surrendered to sleep. Some dream of gardens, some of rivers, others of gentle voices calling their names. The traveler stirs lightly, not in restlessness but in a rhythm of peace. He has dreamed of water once, and now he dreams of walking a path bordered by cypress trees. At the end of the path is a small altar where a serpent curls and uncurls, its movements calm rather than fearful. In his dream, he does not recoil. He feels that the serpent is showing him how to loosen the old stiffness in his own body, to shed the weight of habits that made him tired. When he wakes briefly, the memory lingers, and he lets it rest on his heart like a soft stone carried from a riverbed. Around him, the healers keep their vigil. They are not priests in grand robes, but men and women who move quietly, tending lamps, placing herbs in bowls of water, guiding the restless with a hand upon the shoulder. To them, the night is an ally. They believe that Asclepius himself may step into the dreams of their patients, but they also know that healing lies in small gestures. A mat turned so it faces the breeze, a whisper of reassurance, the scent of laurel leaves burned to calm the air. It is a way of saying that every detail matters, that the body responds not only to medicine but to kindness, order, and care. Why was Epidaurus chosen as one of the great sanctuaries? Some say it was the purity of its springs, others the quiet of its valley, or the way the hills seemed to cradle the site like protective arms. Travelers who came here often reported that even before entering the Abaton, they felt their shoulders loosen, their breath deepen, their steps grow slower. It was as if the land itself was a healer, and the sanctuary simply listened. The traveler, remembering his dream, walks to the spring again in the morning hours. He watches how the first light touches the water, painting it with silver threads. He dips his hands and feels refreshed, reminded that water was always central to the rites of Asclepius. To wash was to let go of what no longer served, to prepare the body to receive something new. It is tempting to wonder, were these healings truly miracles, or were they the power of suggestion, the natural renewal of rest and ritual? Modern eyes might ask this with skepticism, but in the hush of Epidaurus, the question seems less urgent. What mattered was not the proof, but the experience. When a weary farmer, a grieving widow, or a merchant worn thin by travel found relief, the relief was real. Whether the cause lay in divinity, psychology, or the combined power of both? Perhaps the Greeks understood something subtle, that healing begins the moment one believes it is possible. The traveler spends the day wandering the grounds. He visits the great theater, where a chorus is rehearsing lines of a tragedy, their voices carrying across the stone seats in tones that echo like waves. Though the story is sorrowful, he finds it strangely cleansing, as if the grief of the characters lifts some of his own heaviness. He sees children playing near the portico, their laughter quick and clear, a reminder that life, even among the sick, insists on joy. He lies under a cypress tree and feels its shade as an embrace. Each detail, each rhythm of the sanctuary, folds into his sense of being cared for. It is not only the dream that heals him, but the place itself. That night, he returns to the Abaton with calm expectation. He has no fear of what dreams may come. He recalls the stories told by an old healer earlier in the day, that Asclepius once learned from the centaur Chiron, who taught him the secrets of herbs, the wisdom of music, and the balance between body and spirit. In some tales, Asclepius is said to have carried a staff around which a serpent coiled. That staff has never left our imagination. Even today, it remains a symbol of medicine. The traveler considers how a single image, a staff, a serpent, a healer, can carry through centuries, reminding generation after generation that the act of healing is older than any one of us. As he lies down, he hears the faint drone of a lyre again, slow and steady, more like a hum than a melody. The sound guides him into dreams where the god does not appear as a figure, but as a presence, a warmth that tells him to stretch each morning, to walk with steady steps, to let rest be part of his life, not an afterthought. He dreams that he is planting seeds in a field, bending slowly, then rising again, his body no longer heavy but rhythmical, like the seasons. He sees rain fall gently, nourishing the seeds. He sees himself breathing deeply, as if every breath was both gift and medicine. And when he wakes, there is no sudden miracle, but there is a change. He trusts that healing will unfold as surely as spring follows winter. The sanctuary has taught him something simple but profound, that rest is not idleness, but participation in life's natural rhythm. The Greeks understood this, which is why their myths often blurred the line between human habit and divine intervention. A god could appear in a dream, but the dream's advice was often practical. Drink this water, change this routine, forgive this hurt. Healing, then, was not a bolt from the sky, but a reminder of what was already within reach. In this way, Asclepius was not only a god of medicine, but a teacher of habits, a guardian of the gentle steps that restore balance. As dawn approaches again, the traveler feels a quiet confidence. He has slept more deeply than he has in many years. His breath is slower, his shoulders lighter, his thoughts less clouded. Around him, others stir with similar peace, some speaking softly of dreams that gave them hope. The lamps are dimmed, the mats are rolled, and the sanctuary begins another day of welcoming those who seek healing, not through conquest of illness, but through alliance with rest. For the traveler, the journey is not finished, but he knows he has begun to walk in a new way. And in the silence of the valley, it seems as if the earth itself whispers, "You are cared for, you are guided, you are not alone." The third night falls upon the valley, and the traveler feels already at home within the sanctuary. The Abaton is no longer unfamiliar. Its reed mats, its gentle lamplight, and its soft silence feel like an embrace. He lies down knowing that the night itself is an ally. His breath is steady, his body lighter, his thoughts unhurried. He remembers the serpent, from his dreams, the silver water, the path of cypress trees. Each image is not a command, but an invitation, a way of saying, healing is a rhythm you can walk with, not a prize you must seize. Around him, others settle into sleep, each with their own quiet hope. The air carries the faint smell of laurel smoke, and from the portico comes the trickle of water, steady as a lullaby. Outside, the moon rises, placing a soft crown of light upon the colonnade, as if even the sky acknowledges the work of healing here. This time, the dream is simpler. The traveler sees himself sitting by a hearth, a small fire burning. Beside him is an elder, perhaps a healer, perhaps the god himself in gentle disguise. No words are spoken. Instead, the elder sets a bowl of clear water before him and places a hand on his shoulder. The message is quiet but clear. Drink when you are thirsty, rest when you are weary, and let gratitude be part of your daily bread. The traveler feels warmth flood through him, not as fire but as calm, like sunlight stored in stone. He wakes at dawn with the memory intact. There is no fear that the dream will fade, for it has already become part of him. When he rises, the sanctuary is touched by morning light. Birds call softly from the pines, and the theater stands silent, its stones catching the sun. Pilgrims gather by the spring, each dipping hands or filling small vessels, carrying away the clarity of water as a blessing. The traveler joins them, not hurried, but moving with ease. He feels no need to rush toward proof of his healing. The peace within him is proof enough. For the first time in many seasons, he takes a full breath without wincing. He stands a little taller. He greets a stranger with genuine warmth. These are small changes, but he knows that small changes are the beginning of all renewal. The healers watching smile at such transformations. They do not claim to have performed miracles. They know that rest, ritual, and trust are themselves medicines. They see themselves as companions rather than saviors, guides who hold the lamp while the pilgrim walks his own path. The traveler thanks them with simple words, offering a token of grain and fruit at the altar of Asclepius. He does not weep, nor does he shout with joy. He simply feels steady, and steadiness is more precious than any sudden cure. Before leaving the valley, he walks once more along the cypress path of his dream. The trees stand tall and silent, their shadows falling in long stripes upon the earth. He pauses, breathes, and feels that he will carry this place within him long after he departs. In one telling of the myth, Asclepius was placed among the stars after his death, transformed into the constellation Ophiuchus, the serpent-bearer. Some nights, travelers in Greece would look upward and say that the healer still watched over them, carrying the sign of renewal across the sky. Perhaps the traveler of our story, too, will look at the heavens when he returns home, and see in those stars the reminder that rest and care are not luxuries, but necessities, woven into the very fabric of life. And perhaps we, in hearing this tale, feel a similar reminder that our bodies and hearts ask not for endless striving, but for moments of trust, gentleness, and rest. By the time he departs Epidaurus, the traveler has learned a truth that does not need to be written in stone. Healing is not always a sudden gift from the gods. Sometimes it is a reed mat in a quiet hall, a lamp burning through the night, the echo of a lyre, or the kindness of strangers who guide you toward peace. Sometimes it is simply the courage to let sleep do its work. He leaves with gratitude, walking slowly down the valley path, carrying the sanctuary within him like a dream he can revisit each night. And so, the story of the dream house of Asclepius ends with dawn, not with thunder, but with quiet assurance. The lesson is gentle. When we allow ourselves rest, attended with care, we invite healing to enter. When we honor our dreams, we hear wisdom that our waking minds often rush past. And when we trust that we are not alone in our journeys, we find that even the smallest rituals, washing hands in spring water, breathing deeply, beneath cypress trees, offering a word of kindness, become medicine. The gods may visit in dreams, but healing often begins with the simple truth that the body knows how to find balance if we give it the chance. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you may think of that valley, the abaton, the lamps, the water, and the soft tread of the healers. Imagine yourself resting on a reed mat, breathing with ease, listening to the hush of night doves. Let the story remind you that you too are cared for. Your rest matters. Your dreams may carry gifts. And when morning comes, you may rise steadier, clearer, warmed by the promise of a new day. Good night. And if you wish to hear more gentle myths told in the quiet hours, remember to subscribe and return again. May your sleep tonight be a sanctuary and your dreams a path of healing.